Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session. My name is Tepiso Morabe, and I am the Marketing Coordinator for the Engineering Institute of Technology, and I'm based in our South African Administration Office. If you could kindly tell me if you're able to see the slides that are up on the screen, as well as hear me clearly. You can put your comments in the chat box so that I know that you can hear me and see me clearly. Okay, I'm going to wait for your comments or your thumbs up in the chat box so that I'm aware that I can proceed with the slides rather, and start the presentation. So a thumbs up, please. Thank you so much, Dennis. I appreciate it. Moving on along, kindly note the notification and sound slide that is up on your screen. So basically, the slide is for the notifications that you get during the webinar that come through Teams. You're able to turn them off and on as you please. And then we also have a Q&A section, a designated Q&A section, where you can actually input your questions if you'd like to ask Professor Kalam any questions regarding today's presentation. Also note, because the DEng sessions are slightly different, should you wish to communicate your questions or communicate with the professor live, you can make a note in the chat box or the Q&A section and tell me, Tepi, so I'd like to ask my question live. I'll pose my question live to Professor Kalam, and I'll be sure to give you presenter rights during the question and answer session. So some common questions that come up through. Please note you'll receive a copy of the slide as well as the webinar recording. These will be sent to you by the team within the next 2 business days. Please make sure to check your emails, including your junk, spam, and promotional folders. The emails might land there instead of your normal inbox. Okay, so today's session is preparing for your Viva or dissertation defense rather, how to present and defend your doctoral research effectively. And as always, our professor today is Emeritus Professor Akhtar Kalam. He is the EIT professor and he is also a DEng supervisor, and he will be taking you along today's webinar. So if you're new here, let me tell you a little bit more regarding the Engineering Institute of Technology. We are engineering specialists and we offer engineering programs all the way from a professional certificate to the Doctor of Engineering program, which is why you're all here today. We offer industry-orientated programs, meaning that our programs are actually created with thought of what is going on within the engineering space, but they're also made and they're also developed by people who are engineers and are practicing the field. We also offer world-class Australian accredited programs, meaning that our qualifications are accredited through the Australian government, and then some of them through the advanced diplomas, bachelor's degrees, and master's degree actually have international recognition through the Dublin Accord, Sydney Accord, and lastly, the Washington Accord. Now, all our lecturers are industry experienced. They've worked in the field and now work on teaching our students how they can be the best version of engineering professionals that they would like to be. And then lastly, my favorite part, we offer a unique delivery model, meaning that you can either study on campus. On campus, we offer HE courses, that being our bachelor's, master's, as well as our bachelor's and our master's are offered on campus, as well as the Doctor of Engineering programs. And then all our courses can actually be studied 100% online. So regardless of your geographical location, you can study with us. All you need is a laptop as well as an internet connection so that you're able to attend classes and submit those assignments on time. Okay, that's it for me during this particular webinar. A last note, kindly note, because this is an info session, meaning this session is made to provide information to doctoral students or prospective doctoral students, rather, who would like to study the program. There will not be certificates of attendance, as this is Professor Kalam imparting his knowledge on how to create your doctoral presentations or how to go about studying your doctoral program. So if you're looking for a certificate for a webinar, please note to register for a technical topic webinar. You can visit the EIT events page in order to register for those. I will provide you with the link at the end of the session so that you're able to do so. Without further ado, Professor Kalam, I believe this is your time. I'm going to ask you to take control and then remember those three little dots so that you can hide presenter view. Thank you so much, everyone. I'll see you on the end.
Thank you very much, Shabisha, and thank you very much for your introduction. I'm taking control.
Please do so, sir.
Right. First of all, a bit about myself, but before myself, I want to tell you this might be one of the most important session, especially in a country where there is a Viva voce at the end of your journey when you're doing a doctoral program. This will make or break your PhD program. So you will find that there is substantial importance in this program. So I want to make sure that you understand that this is a very important part. A bit about myself. For those who have not known me, I've been giving these presentations for about 2 years now. Every time it has been different. And I've got substantial experience in the education sector. For more than 40 years, I've been teaching in Australia, and before that in Middle East and in England and in the United States. I did my master's, PhD I did from England, and I did my undergraduate studies in India. I am a professional member of various organizations. Another thing I do is I do a lot of consulting work for the industry, which gives me exposures to the problem that industry is having. And I always share this with my students. So that is definitely a thing that I do, which I think is very important that you people realize that it is important that we talk in terms of, especially with engineering, you do talk with respect to what is happening in the industry. And I believe that students want that, and I think students should get that. Now, before I start all these things, I just want you to understand, I can't predict the question that will be asked of you on these Vivas. No one can. I can only give you the experience I've had. I've produced about 60 PhD students and 4 DEng students. DEng program is absolutely new, which I started about 7 years back. And the first few graduates which has come out are my students. I still have about 6 of them there and about 6 PhD students working with me at the present time. So I can only tell you what can possibly happen. Most of the time I sit on the other side doing the Viva or dissertation for external students. So I've got experience on handling this type of questions and what you can expect. But I can't promise you that the things I'm telling you will all be asked in your Viva. I can only give you some strategies. I can only give you what are the possibilities of having such type of questions. But then I want you to understand that I want you to have that presentation skills. And I want you to understand that you have to handle questions. So these are the two things. Your presentation skill will come out and how you handle the questions. And that is what I want to stress on today. So in my presentation today is basically very simple. Why this defense? Is it unnecessary hurdle? Is this a barrier? No. And I'll explain to you that. What are the tips for success? I can tell you that. What are the final suggestions I have? What are the best practices? Some tips I can give you, and the template that you can use. So why defense? My question that is there is why defense? I have to make you understand that like any other exams, all the closed book exams that you've had in your undergraduate program or coursework programs that you've done in your lifetime, this is not an exam. I want you to understand that. This is not an exam. This is basically a dialogue. And the dialogue is professional in nature, where you as a student or you as a PhD candidate or a DEng candidate have to show that you understand, you own, and can justify your research. So this Viva that you will have is a professional dialogue where you as a candidate will demonstrate your originality. Remember, this is the highest qualification, AQF level 10 in Australia. There's no qualification higher than this. You have to show that you've got original work. You've not copied, you've not plagiarized, you've not used AI. You have done original work. And you have to show that you've got mastery in the field and you are able to defend your research. So, so the first thing I said is that let's have this originality. So you have to have that originality. Now, you've got this originality, okay? And now, once you've got the originality, sorry, I meant that is where you will say where you have got your original contribution. Is it your, even if it's a small portion, if you have contributed to the knowledge of science, you've enhanced the skill of science or engineering, that is the original knowledge, not plagiarized knowledge, not copied knowledge. And you will say, where is the mastery in that subject? Whether it's areas or methods, whatever that is. And you have to defend your arguments and conclusions. And whilst discussing, the examiners will find out whether you are the original contributor to the work or you have done cut and paste. If it's cut and paste, they will stop your qualification. If not, they will let you continue. This is a very clear-cut thing. Okay, now the structure of the Viva. You have to make a presentation, my friends, right? Whether we like it or not, we have to make a presentation. But I want you to understand this, that the Viva varies. Not two institutions have the same type of Viva. So what you have to give a short presentation. Everywhere you have to give a presentation. Some people say 20 minutes, some people say 30 minutes, some people say 40 minutes. I don't know. I have taken a rough guess of 30 minutes. The primary focus will be on that question and answer session. This could be extended to, you'll find it won't be a 5 or 10 minutes Viva, but it could be longer also. I remember when I was doing my doctoral program long time back, I think 500 years ago when I was doing it. Those days in England, when we had the Viva, people were scared. Sometimes the Viva used to go for 2-3 days. Mine fortunately only went for 40 minutes. And I was very lucky in that, I think. Not because I did brilliant work, but I was lucky, I think. Others, I know they were there for 2-3 days, and there's no guarantee that you will be able to come out with a flying color. So it all depends how long the Viva will be. For us in our DEng program, is very structured program. So I think it'll be about 15 to 20 minutes sort of thing. Again, it could be extended if the examiners are not clear. By the way, those who will be in the panel, they'll be external members, not internal members. So, so they will try to find what is your contribution. Now, you might understand that you have to go for theory. So there is an analytical part. Even if you have done a lab-based doctoral program, you have to justify it theoretically. So there has to be an analytical method by which you have done that. So they will try and get your theoretical contribution. That's why many people do not know why do we have to write a literature search or do literature survey. They want to see what work has been done prior to your work and what's your contribution. And then it's always good. It's always good. It's much easier to have practical implications of your work. And they also want to see where is this work heading to. So in conclusion, you must have suggestions of scope for future work. There cannot be a work without any future research. Okay, now let us see what we are going to do. You're trying to prepare a presentation. You've got a thesis, say, is about 200 pages long. You don't want to have 200 slides. You have to bring it down to 25, 30 minutes presentation, say about 30, 20 slides will be good slides. One thing people stress on is research gap. Where are the gaps? The work that you have done is because there is research gap which others have not done till now. So you are the person who has covered a part of the research gap which is there. That should come out very clearly. And what's your contribution? My friend, don't overcrowd your slides. The golden rule of 6 by 6 should be followed. 6 lines, 6 words, 7 words, 8 words in a line. That's about it. Be as concise as possible. It's better to have broader type of fonts than to have very tiny fonts where people can't see. So keep the slides very clear. Minimal type of text. I said 6 text in one line. My friends, please practice before you actually make the presentation. Please practice. In fact, you must do also the timing, because there could be the chair of the examiner might cut you off. You have not finished in time. They will say to you, you've got 20 minutes, you've got 30 minutes, whatever it is. You have to stay to that time. You do not want that the chair of the examiner cut you off right in the middle of the session where you've not had chance to say what your conclusion, what the future work is going to be. And some of the most important part you've missed out. So make sure you practice, practice, practice. Make sure you've got the timing right. Get the timing. You will know exactly how many minutes your institution gives for these vivas and the presentation. You prepare your slides for that. If required, if permitted, some students I have seen brings hands out. Nowadays is not a fashion. In the olden days, I used to see people giving hands out. So if permitted, if others are doing it, then you might as well print hands out. Not necessary. Now, the next thing. Remember, my friend, you're going to tell a story. You're going to tell a story. You know how the storytellers are. You have to become a story. In the story, you will give the problems. Make it a story. Tell them the methods. In the story, give them the key finding. In the story, give them the contribution. Just please do not read from the text. See, I'm talking to you. Am I reading from the text? No, I'm not. At times, I go to that slide just to make sure that I've covered everything, but I'm not reading. Do not read from the slide. This is a cardinal mistake. In any presentation, do not read verbatim from the slide. So, if you want to know about these storytelling, then summarize your research. Summarize. Okay? Where you summarize your problems, your methods, your findings, your contribution. Do not repeat the whole thesis. Do not cut and paste half a page of that thesis and just, that is rubbish. You will completely go out of your mark. Do not copy and paste directly from this topic. You have to show them what is the topic and why you are doing this topic. You have to show them the method. What are the alternatives available? You have to show where are the key contribution. You have to show how robust your funding is. And you have to say, where is this research going in the future? Now, I want to encourage you something very interesting. You have to be very clear, because you need to understand what type of questions the examiner is going to ask. So I always ask my students to have a prep sheet of question and answer, and practice that with your supervisors, your peers, your mentors, or whomever you have got. In particular, if you have got group of students, why don't you practice with them first? So you can understand that it's not a bad idea to prepare your prep sheet where you think these are the questions the examiner might ask. And as I said, practice it. Practice, practice, practice. Now, I believe a communicator must be very clear and very precise, absolutely concise. No mucking around with it. You don't have to read from the slide. You should know it here. The aids have to be simple. See, I like to put some pictures because I don't like the monotony of all the words. Now, if you don't like pictures, don't put it, no problem. But the slide should be very clear. In engineering, we have a very bad habit, including myself. I'm not only talking about you. We like these jargon. In electrical, we use, instead of transformers, we say trainee. Please don't use jargon. Avoid it as much as possible, because there's no guarantee that your examiner is from your country. I'm in Australia, right? There's no guarantee that the examiner will be from Australia too. So there are jargons that we use in Australia, which an examiner in South Africa may not be able to understand. Avoid that. Now, listen to the questions very clearly. Wait for some time. Do not, I see students right in the middle of the question, they anticipate what the question is and they try to answer, and they have made the mistake. They have answered completely different to what the examiner wanted to ask. Listen to the question very clearly. If you have not understood the question, there is nothing wrong in saying, can you please repeat the question? There's nothing wrong with that. Understand before you answer. I always like to wait for 20 seconds before I answer. In that 20 seconds, my mind is working and I'm trying to find the best answer that I can give to the examiner. My friend, stay calm and respectful. Don't start fighting with the examiner. You will never pass if you start swearing at the examiner or fighting with it. Stay calm, composed, and respectful. This is, as I told you, this is the highest qualification. This is not a Mickey Mouse issue that you will make fun about examiners. Do not say, examiner is, by the way, always right. Okay? Now, I'll give you some tips. Let's give you some tips. I want you to be successful. My first thing I find is nervousness. I found many students goes through this issue when they become nervous and they have a stressful attack. They say that I'm going through depression and anxiety and stress, right? You have to handle that. That is not an excuse as far as the Viva is concerned. If you have done your practice right, if you have done some mock Vivas amongst your colleagues, your friends, your supervisors, there's no reason why you should be stressful and why you should be nervous before the exam. There are some people who do yoga and do meditation. Nothing wrong before they start, before they have something to calm you down. My friend, breathe and pace yourself carefully. As I mentioned, do mock vivas. Mock vivas are very good. Okay. The breathing exercise that I'm telling you is very helpful. Okay. Because if you do these things, you will find that you will appear to be absolutely above everyone. And remember, your examiners are not your enemies, they are collaborators. Again, your examiner does not have higher qualification than you have. You're going to have the same qualification as the examiner. And remember one thing, and the most important thing about your thesis, you know the best, not even me. You know that in the beginning, this is my theory. I keep on telling my students this. In the beginning, the supervisor knows more than the student. At the second phase, the student and supervisor are at par. At third phase, the student is much way beyond the supervisor's knowledge. So you know the thesis very well, much more than your supervisors and those examiners. Okay, then I want to mention a bit on um, on common mistakes that you should avoid. And in fact, these are very common mistakes which many students make. Uh, Remember, if you're making these mistakes, you're definitely going to use, and you find that it gives a very bad impression on the supervisor and the supervisor, sorry, not the supervisor, the panel of examiners, and they think that they start thinking and having negative views about your presentation, your thesis, everything. Those who do reading word to word, right, especially from notes, okay, is not a good idea. Then that means this work is not yours. When someone challenges you, stand up, be courageous, and defend your thing. As I told you, you know best about the thesis. Don't get scared, but then be respectful. I've told you, right? Etiquette must be maintained at all times. You challenge, okay? You become defensive and you respond to it. Don't worry about the broader implications, right? If you cannot demonstrate your contribution, this is one problem that will cause a lot of anxiety with the examiners. To make sure that you can demonstrate what your contribution is. What other people's contribution is not important. What is your contribution? Now, the other thing I wanted to mention to you is that uh, you must have confidence. Okay, you must rest before these Viva. Okay, you must show what your practical logistics and all those things. Be very careful. Be on time. I always say be half an hour before time. Dress appropriately. Remember that. This is a professional exam. Dress professionally. In England, when I was again my own self, this was a common rule. We used to buy a new suit, and we used to go professionally dressed like a professional engineer. I'm not saying in Australia it's a bit informal here, so you don't have to dress that elegantly. But in England, they are very concerned about the dress, and normally they do dress. And I remember myself buying a new suit for my Viva. Arrive early, don't come late. There's no excuse. My train was late, my bus was delayed, I fell on the top of the stairs. That was no delays. Okay? It's always good to be early. Always have your thesis and notes handy. Sleep well before the night. On the night prior to your Viva, sleep well. And one thing you must remember, my friend, Examiner is not there to fail you. The first thing examiner wants is to make sure that you pass. But if you don't deserve to pass, they will fail you. I can tell you right now. So, as I said, dress well, arrive early, bring any materials, right? Rest, and remember, examiners want you to succeed. Then my final suggestions. My final suggestion is that um, I want you to understand this is a scholarly conversation. It's a dialogue, I use the word. The examiners want to see that you're confident in your research, you have done the work. Nothing wrong with being open-minded. Nothing wrong with being critical and reflective. And defend your thesis, defend your steps. Because you remember, you have to join the community of scholars. And you have to make sure that you have to be deserving to be in that community of scholars. Now, quickly, some of the practices. As I said, practice, practice, practice. That's it. First thing, practice. Second thing, practice. Third thing, practice. Till the time of the Viva, you're practicing. And be in the topic. Remember, you have to finish it in time. I always encourage my students to bring their family, friends, and lab mates. So you've got your cheerleaders all around you. It gives you confidence. And if you're writing things, please check with your academic support and guidance that you can get from your own institution. In EIT, there is ample opportunities to get that. You can also submit for preliminary reviews to someone. The research office might help you. I don't know. Whatever is there, try and utilize it. Then I don't know, everyone is different. People send, there must be some research office there. It can give you some help in big picture. There are many resources available in how to write thesis, etc. You can get that. So check it online. Normally, all these are available online. And there's nothing wrong with using software like Grammarly. I always use Grammarly myself. In my time, when I was doing my PhD, there was no such tool, but now it is there. And you will find at times, Grammarly says that AI generated. There's nothing wrong with expressing when you're submitting your thesis that you have used Grammarly. Grammarly is not considered as AI generated. As I said, 30 minutes. You might find that there will be a Q&A session. And then when the decision time will come, all your cheerleaders will be gone. It's only the panel member and the supervisors might be there. And even sometime supervisor goes also, and they make the decision. I think roughly you should keep 2 hours for your defense. Then be careful, listen to the question. Do not half listen and answer, as I've told you. Make sure you heard the question correctly. Make sure you understand the question. Allow yourself to reframe the question. There's nothing wrong if you're not clear. Ask them again. Be honest. Don't try to give them tips. Many students talk rubbish. No, the examiner will catch you. Don't do speculation and all. If you don't know the answer, say, no, I don't know the answer. But always end in a positive note and come back to your contribution because you know best what you have done and how important that work is. Typical questions that scientists ask and engineers and scientists ask is why you've chosen this method, why you're doing this research, what are the research impact, what's your contribution, How to tackle this problem? What is novelty in your work? What will you do next? These are typical questions that they might ask. Some final tips, my friend. You build up your presentation. So I would say you have your presentation in such a way that you have your proposal, summarize, say if there are 5 chapters, summarize, say first 3 chapters, and then focus on chapter 4 and 5 because that might be the most important thing. Check and double check. Remember, timing is very important. If it says 30 minutes, you will be stopped in 30 minutes. If they say 20 minutes, you'll be stopped in 20 minutes. So you have to make sure that you do 1 or 2 minutes less than the stipulated time. Practice multiple times. And as I said, practice, practice, practice. I've written it twice. I should have written it 3 times. Make sure your format is correct. Use conservative slide layout, which is professional. Either use Calibri or Times New Roman, but make it sure. Don't use all those cursive type of writing, where it's very hard to see. Make sure that your figures and tables are easy to understand. They're not too crowded, and the fonts are clear. Make big size font. Don't make it size 7 and 8. Many people use this slide transition, animations, and sound. These are distracting. Try and avoid that. As I said in the beginning, do not overcrowd your slides. Okay. Create some notes on the presentation that you have done for the oral presentation, so you know that where you have to stress. Please do not read directly from the slide. The presentation itself should be enough to talk about the things that you're talking. Always have a title page. And you must start with a title page that gives you a bit of importance. There's nothing wrong with saying your background. I worked in GE, I worked in ABB or something like that. And, you've done a bachelor's degree, you've done a master's degree, okay? And now you want to go for a PhD. Not very long, half a minute sort of thing. Give your credentials. If you've got experience, there's nothing wrong. I have been in a company which is producing electric vehicle and we are doing research on electric vehicle. What's the problem? Beautiful. Give the background for your work, why you've chosen this work. Give a bit of history on that. Research gap. I keep on hitting on research. Many students forget research gap. Research gaps are the most important thing. And for each of the category, use 1 slide. Do not use 500 slides. Do not use 50 different slides for one thing. So you give your problem statement, okay, why the purpose of your study, why it is important, okay, what is the significance of the work, why you think your work has got professional currency. Then what are the theoretical foundation? Remember, is a PhD or a DEng, the highest degree, AQF level 10 in Australia. Okay, so you have to have some philosophical orientation. And that's why I keep on talking about critical theory or social constructivism. Explain, where the philosophy in the thesis. Okay. Then give the conceptual framework. Literature search. Start with the literature search and say, where are the shortcomings? Okay. And you have to prove that you've got complete understanding of that topic. Those people who have done work before you, they had certain limitations and you've tried to cover the following. Make sure you cite all authors and peers. That is, it is criminal offense for taking credit of work which has been done by someone else. So have some research questions. I always like 5, 6 research questions. Right in the beginning, I tell my students that you should have some research questions. Methodology. Many people forget this methodology part. This is a major category of the research. What type of software you use, where you have used it, what type of hardware you use, what are the methodology you've used, why you've used it. And this should be in such a way that it is going hand in hand with your research questions. And why you chose. These are the 6 methods which are available. I chose the following 2. Why you chose the following 2. Then comes my friend methodology. I said how you're selected, what is the institutional research board consideration, your institution, say your EIT student, what is their consideration? If you worked on demographic, if you are in South Africa, where is any relevance to South Africa, or you're working with an Australian problem, try and make sure that you understand that. So have your reliability done. Make sure that you have done your data collection properly. Make sure everything is analytics, not analysis only, because analysis have got a lot of limitations and you have to point it out. So you may need multiple slides for these things. Then after that, the conclusion. In conclusion, what did you learn, my friend? What have you learned? How is that work that you have done related to the conceptual framework from the literature that you talked about? So whatever was there in the introduction, you have to conclude it. So it must tie up. Introduction should not be any different than the conclusion. Conclusion is the concluding part of what you had in chapter 1. Show all the strengths and weaknesses. And even your work, there are limitations. Show that. Because this has implications on future scholarships or research. It has implications for other people who will be working in this area. If there are any theoretical consideration to be given, if there are public policies that can come out of your thesis, if there are some educational practices that is there, give your recommendations, my friend. References. My friend, many people have a habit of putting 300 references and only they've used about 50 references. If you have used 50 references, only cite those 50 references, not the 300 references. And some people like to, I don't like it myself, some people like to put references. If you want to put some references, put the top 10 only of that 50 or 60 or 70 or 80 references that you've got, because you should only use one slide for that. Okay, some sort of organization structure that you have had in your chapter 4 or wherever it is. Remember, you should only present detail as far as it's convincing. Don't put too much. I like to put tables and figures because that makes it much easier. We are engineers. We like to play with diagrams and figures and charts and things like that. And make sure that you point out which are the significant findings in your results. And ask, you might be able to, you might require more than one slide for this particular portion. Now, then comes, make sure you thank everyone, all the committee members. So some additional slides I've given just to make sure that you understand. 30 minutes, I told you, is what I have said. If your institution, EIT gives you 20 minutes, make 20 minutes, whatever is required. Remember, you spent 3+ years. Very hard to give everything in 20 minutes. Okay? So I always like to give, like today also, I've kept some additional slides. And look at this. These are the additional slides. And remember, sometimes your additional slides come handy. When the examiners ask a question, immediately you've got some slides that you can pick it up and show it to the examiner. Okay? Some templates. I've just shown you some templates. Make sure you've got this, make sure you've got the name of the institution. Many students do not know which department they are in. Okay, so make sure you've got that right. Then big picture, always give the big picture. Brief, not a lot. Don't spend too much time. 3 minutes, I'm saying. 3 minutes on this slide only. Make sure you tell them in 3 minutes where the big picture is. Make sure your audience, the audience includes your cheerleaders, your external members, your all those people who are attending your dissertation. Okay, Then originality. If you don't have originality, you cannot get a PhD or DEng. So, and remember, other people are working in similar areas. So what others have done and what is different of your work. So how you have improved. Again, spend about 3 to 5 minutes in explaining that. Then you might have this, what is the contribution? And this is the most important thing. Contribution, additional contribution, side, additional, whatever it is, make sure that these are outlined, as I told you, in chapter 1 to 3, say, okay? Discuss with your supervisor what you should put. Spend about 1 to 2 minutes on each of these slides. Then set aside, you start with basically with some slides, right? And make sure that you have about 5 minutes in this one, right? And have one for the contributions. There's always good to have the references. These are the references that what you're doing is correct. Spend about 5 minutes on each contribution if you've got more than one. Okay, what is the published work? Okay, there's a general rule I wanted you to understand. Many people ask me this question, how much publication should I have? I always say, because most of my students are all PhD or DEng students, I tell them you must have 2 Q1 journal publication. As soon as you have 2 Q1 journal publications, I tell my students, you can now go ahead and submit a thesis. Now, it might be difficult for a DEng student, especially because they've got about 32 credit hours of coursework element, to have 2 journal paper, at least 1 journal paper, one good journal paper, and say about 1 or 2 journal paper they have submitted and the answer has not come back. So say in DEng around year 2 of your program, you should be ready to submit a paper. Even if it's a review paper, there's nothing wrong with that. As I told you, this is my theory. I always ask my students to do it. Now, others might have different views, and discuss this with your supervisor. Make sure you spend some time in explaining what are the publications you've got. And in conclusion, as I mentioned, okay, make sure that you emphasize on your contributions. What are your contributions? Make sure you do that, because that is the most important thing of the work. You repeat the conclusion. There's nothing wrong. 1 to 2 minutes you have to spend, right? And with that, I have completed my presentation, and it's question time now. Shipishu, for the first time in my life, I finished so early.
Really proud of you, Professor Kalam. You are right on time this time.
You are training me well. You are training me well. I'll stop presenting. You take control, please.
I will do so. Thank you so much for the presentation, Professor Kalam. I have actually put it in the chat box that should anyone have questions, could they kindly mention this? If they'd like to speak to you live, they can also do this, and I'll give them presenter rights. But if they'd like to write or jot down the questions either in the Q&A box or in the I'm sorry, there we go. Okay, in the Q&A box or in the chat box, we will be able to take your questions. However, I'm just going to move right along. Please tell me if you can see my screen, Professor Kalam.
Yes, I can.
Okay, that is great. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this particular webinar. As I've mentioned, you can ask your questions to Professor Kalam either by stating or noting them down in the chat box or the Q&A function, or you can ask for me to provide you with presenter rights so that you're able to ask your questions live. So I'm just going to give you a couple of minutes to either decide if you'd like to ask your questions live or put them in the Q&A box, but I'm just going to move on because we have reached the end of the webinar. I'm so sorry, I'll have to go through the slides because it did not Remember that we were past slide 40. I'm just going to move through this quickly so that I get to the end. If you guys are interested in, of course, enrolling for the DEng program, we currently have intakes open for the year 2026. So you can either study the program online or on campus. Either way, you will have a supervisor, but depending on where you are based and what you'd like to study or the mode of study you'd like to take, you can either study online or on campus in Australia. I'm just going to bring up the dates for the DEng program for the year 2026. So we have one for the 9th of February. This is the online program, as well as the 16th of February 2026 for the on-campus program. Please note, if you are interested in applying for the programs, you would need to know that there's quite a lot of effort in applying. So if you're applying for online, you can complete your application online, but you'll need to provide an essay as well as other material in order for your application to be assessed by the academic committee. So please take note that it isn't as straightforward as applying for any other program. You would need to put some work into that. If you're applying for on-campus, please contact us so that we can connect you with an educational agent who's based in your region, and then they will be able to assist you with the application. For on-campus, we use educational agents, and they do come at a fee. I can connect you to Peredi Kotla. He is our recruitment manager for the African region. But if you are not in Africa, of course, we have agents who can assist you from different parts of the world. All you need to do is ask, and we will be happy to assist you with the information. So we actually have 2 more sessions left for the remainder of the year for the DEng Toolbox. So we have one in the 6th of November, which is effective presentation skills for presenters, as well as the last one is the 4th of December, AI tools for academic research. And then we'll be closing off the year. So please make sure to register for those sessions as well. And then lastly, this is our survey and feedback form. If you have any suggestions as to what you'd like to see happening next year regarding this particular webinar, please note down your suggestions on there. We're happy to listen to you and take them into consideration if we are able to do so. I think this is it, ladies and gentlemen. I don't see any questions and I don't see any hands up. Should you have any further questions for us, you are more than welcome to reach out to our course advisor team. They'll be able to tell us what we need to provide you with. However, I'd like to thank Professor Kalam for his excellent presentation as always. And then most importantly, to the people who have attended the session, we really do appreciate you being here with us. We will see you on the next one. That's on the 6th of November. And I will provide all relevant links within the chat box. I won't close the chat. I won't close the webinar as of yet, because I am actually going to provide you with those links that I talked about. And then once I have them on there, I will pin it so that everyone has access. And then I will then close the session. Thank you so much for your time, everyone, and for joining us, Professor Kalam. I will see you in the next month or not. However, thank you so much for your presentation today, and of course to our attendees. Thank you, guys, and have a lovely day. Goodbye, everyone.